inside of our hearts and grant them according to your will. Allow us to always see your beauty, feel your love, know your wisdom, and experience your power. We ask all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Babbitt? Here. Ms. Huddleston?
Here.
Ms. Thomas? Ms. Fertitta?
Here.
Dr. Perot?
Here.
Dr. Guillot?
here.
Ms. Bourgeois?
Here.
Mr. Tyler Dufresne?
Here.
Mr. Schwest?
Here.
Mr. Blazos?
Here.
Mr. Duplantis?
Here.
Mr. LaFont?
Here.
Mr. Archer?
Here.
Mr. Bernard?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Based on the weather this evening, we're going to make a change in the agenda. We're going to start the meeting with memorial resolutions. So we'll start the meeting with memorial resolutions. 8, Mr. Raymond Johnson, retired teacher. Ms. Marion Petita.
Mr. Raymond Johnson was hired by Lafourche Parish School District on August 26, 1958 as a teacher at C.M. Washington High and C.M. Washington Upper Elementary School. He also taught at East Thibodeau Junior High School. Mr. Johnson retired on June 3, 1986, having served the Lafourche Parish School District for a total of 28 years. I move that this resolution be adopted by general consent and that a copy of this resolution be recorded on a special page of our minute book. And
Thank you, Ms. Petita.
and I would just like to comment that I worked with Mr. Johnson, who is a very, very fine gentleman, and he was our school guidance counselor at South, well, back then it was South Thibodeau. And I saw him just a couple of weeks before he passed away. I was really surprised, but he's a fine man. He's sorely to be missed.
Thank you, Ms. Petita. Although I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him or working with him, I did work with Miss Yvonne Johnson, and I know Gina's a former an employee now. Miss Yvonne's a retired teacher, and her husband worked at Thibodeau High, so they had a long history here in Lafourche Parish. And we'd just like to know if the family would like to say anything. Miss Yvonne or Miss Gina, or your dad.
I would just like to say that my dad, he enjoyed working in the parish and, teaching the kids and getting involved in the community. And I appreciate everything you guys have done. And I can't say no more. He lived a real, good life, and you can't complain about that. All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
And I know you carried that same enthusiasm at Thibodeau High, because most of the kids knew you and all the staff knew you. So you probably patterned what he has done.
Well, yeah.
Thank y'all for coming. Thank you very much. B, Ms. Susan Ogeron, retired teacher. Mr. Henry LaFont.
Ms. Susan Ogeron was hired by the Lafourche Parish School District on August 26, 1968. As a teacher at South Lafourche High School, Ms. Ogeron retired on January 15, 2003, having served the Lafourche Parish School District for a total of 34.5 years. I move that this resolution be adopted by general consent, and that a copy of this resolution be recorded on a special page of our minute book.
Thank you, Mr. LaFont.
If I may also, I had the pleasure of being a student at South Lafourche when Ms. Ogeron was there. Not only Ms. Ogeron, but her entire family. Her husband, Aubrey Ogeron, who served on this board. Her son, Bubba Ogeron, who's worked for this board and who's working in Terrebonne Parish. It's a family that's been dedicated to the education of our children. And I think it's a loss that everyone will feel. And they were just great people, the whole family.
Thank you, Mr. LaFont. Ms. Bernard.
I've known the Ogeron family for years, and sort of echoing what Hank said, but after Ms. Ogeron retired, she did do a lot of substitute work for the elementary schools throughout the 10th Ward. Her husband, as Mr. LaFont said, spent many, many years on this board as a financial committee chairperson. He did an outstanding job, and of course, Bubba's assistant superintendent down there on the parish. And I wish him well throughout this screening process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Any further comments? Yes, sir, Mr.
I'd also like
Richard.
to recognize Angel, who is also employed for the Lafourche Parish, who is part of the original family. Angel has been with us for quite a few years, and I think it's North Rose.
I'd like to say, unlike Mr. LaFont, I went to school not with Miss Sue, but with Bella and Angel. Miss Sue was a tremendous teacher, very well recognized in the system, in the schools that she served. And I know Mr. Aubrey was an important member of this board as well. Angel was a little younger, but always gave her all in teaching and continues to do it every day. I know they are grieving, I'm sure for Mr. Aubrey, it's a different type of loss. So, thank you very much. We'd like to thank the Johnsons out for coming. Thank you, Ms. Yvonne. Please let the record reflect that these resolutions were adopted by general consent and were recorded on a special page in our minute book.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's the appropriate time or not, but I'd like to ask your permission at this time to extend our sympathies to the family of Officer Larry, who's by the name Cowboy, who's a school crossing guard who lost his life tragically on February 20th while performing the students. He not only took care of the physical part of the cars, but he also took care of the community's greatest assets, the children of that school. He leaves behind a wife, Marilyn, and two children, Kim and also Brandy. And I'd like us to remember him and hope that the family gets through this grieving process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, and thank you for attending the funeral very much for the board and representing us that day on our behalf. Very, very much. If we could just have maybe a minute of silence in his respect. Thank you very much. Approval of board consent agenda. A, approval of board consent agenda items. B, board minutes of regular board meeting held February 5th, 2020. C, minutes of special board meeting held February 19th, 2020. D, minutes of Land and Facilities Management Committee meeting held February 19th, 2020. E, minutes of Finance Committee meeting held February 19th of 2020. F, minutes of Academics Committee meeting held February 19th, 2020. And G, observances of schools, Employee Teacher Appreciation Day, Friday, March 6th, 2020. And Retired Teachers Day on Thursday, March 19th, 2020. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Barry Plaisance, second by Mr. Randy Schwess. Are there any public comments? Yes, ma'am?
I filled out a blue card. I don't know if you see.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
My name is Beth Plaisance. You who don't know me. I live in Lafourche. I'm here tonight as my capacity as the president of the Lafourche Parish Retired Teachers Association. Today you're passing this proclamation recognizing the retired teachers in Lafourche Parish. I just want to share some information with you about us and give you some more information, tell you who you are. Lafourche Parish has over 1,700 retired teachers in residence here. Not all from Lafourche, but we receive over $47.6 million in benefits from TRSL. So we are a formidable group. We participate in many activities, keeping busy as support systems for our families, substituting in classrooms, those of us who still have the patience, serving our churches, our civic organizations, and public boards, such as this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Right? Okay. We love Lafourche Parish. That's why we're here. That's why we've chosen to stay here and celebrate our unique culture. One thing I'm asking tonight, and I do watch the board meetings because my organization has a vested interest. Please stop thinking of us as a drain on your insurance coffers. We willingly invested our careers into this parish with the promise that you would continue to pay our insurance. We committed our lives to Lafourche, especially those of us who were not grandfathered into the Medicare program, which is a whole different story that Jared just found out about. But think of it, it was a promise made to us. Think of it now as a promise to keep for us. Something else, we're very patriotic. We do vote. And this was acknowledged by Mr. Morton, Superintendent Morton, when he visited us at our last meeting, explaining your plans for the half-cent sales tax increase. He and Dean Guidry did an excellent job. And from the feedback I received from my members, I'm very hopeful that you'll be successful in this election. Something else I want to say about this election. Thank you for being open and clear about it. This was not how things were handled in the past, all the time. So thank you for keeping it real, keeping it honest, for having your, as much as I don't like to even look up here, but as for having these meetings on Facebook so that the public could, maybe not attend, but see what's going on and appreciate this board. Because I think y'all are doing a great job, I really, really do. Also, if there is a teacher that made a difference in your life somewhere along the way, please contact them, let them know, give them a phone call. I have all the addresses of those 1,700 teachers in Lafourche Parish. Tell them thank you before you have to read their obituary. Because sometimes that's what happens. Oh, I wanted to tell her. So please do that. That's one of my goals, is to get people to communicate with their former teachers. So thank you all for tonight. Thank you all for retired teachers. I'm going to be contacting some of your principals, asking that they can do something, but I know this is a bad time of the year for them to have anything in their schools because it's testing time. But I do have to commend South Lafourche because they always do have they do invite their retirees to come back and visit. So thank you all. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Ms. Plaisance. Is there any board comment?
I'd like to make one comment. Beth, thank you very much for your service to the Lafourche Retired
Thank you,
Teachers
Harold.
Association.
I'm
You're
worried
doing
about
a
Carol.
great job. You're working hard at it. And I appreciate your dedication.
Thank you. Did you and Ray on the same board?
Notice Ms. Plaisance are across from each other,
I know.
not together. Any other board comment? Ms. Beth, thank you very much for that. Those are some great thoughts to share out. And my grandmother is a retired teacher, so I can appreciate everything you are saying, as well as everybody on this board, I'm quite sure. Thank you very much.
We care, we still care.
Ms. Fertitta?
I did want to say one thing too, and I want to encourage, since we do go out to a big audience, I'd like to encourage any retired teacher that does not belong to the Retired Teachers Association to please consider joining. The dues are very, very inexpensive. They meet 4 times a year, and but they are out there and they are listening and they're talking to people and inviting people to speak to them. So I'll ask you to please consider joining the LRTA.
Thank you, Ms. Fertitta. Anyone else? Okay, we'll vote. Voting is unanimous. 3, approval of Land and Facilities Management Committee recommendations as per meeting held February 19, 2020. Mr. Randy Schwess.
A, to accept a change order to add 28 days to the contract, 15 additional days due to stoppage of work, 7 days for the additional work for ponding areas, and 6 additional days for material acquisition. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Randy Schwess, second by Ms. Valerie Bourgeois. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion passes unanimously. B,
B, to accept the low bid in the amount of $557,000 and alternate number 2 in the amount of $167,700 for the total amount of $724,700 from Balut Incorporated for the sewer plant replacement project at Central Lafourche High School. So moved.
motion by Mr. Randy Schwess, second by Mr. Barry Plaisance. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion passes unanimously. 4, approval of Finance Committee recommendations as per meeting held February 19, 2020. Dr. Mary Brooke.
A, to accept the renewal offer of All South Consulting Engineers LLC to extend the contract term to February 1, 2022, and to maintain with no increase to the current contract fee cap of $650,000. So moved.
Motion by Dr. Mary Brooks, second by Mr. Tyler Dufresne. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? Thank you, Mr. Smith, for coming out in case we did have some questions. We'll vote. Motion passes unanimously. 5, approval of Academics Committee recommendations as per meeting held February 19, 2020. Ms. Tina Babin.
To approve the proposal for end-of-year teacher professional development plan, and just to elaborate a second on that, we have 5 emergency days built into the calendar, and we were fortunate enough not to have to use any of them this year. So we're proposing that 2 of these days be turned into professional development days for our teachers at the end. We look forward to training teacher strategies and use of resources.
Thank you, Ms. Babin. Motion by Ms. Tina Babin, second by Mr. Ray Bernard. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion passes unanimously. 6, new business. A, introduction of new administrators. Mr. Jarrett Morton.
Yes, ma'am, we have new to the position permanently, Mr. Kenny Delcom, Director of Secondary Schools. Mr. Delcom?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to officially being in this new role. Mr. Martin has made it very clear that he wants us to support our principals, and that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be an enjoyable challenge because we do have a really great group of principals to work with, to assist them in working with their schools and their teachers to support their students. So we're on it. We're ready to roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delcom. Thank you for working with the board so diligently in the past couple of months. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would like to add that over the last 7 months, nobody shouldered a bigger burden than the dual role than Mr. Delcom. So thank you for what you've done for the Lafourche Parish School District. Thank you. We also have, not new to East Thibodeau Middle School, but new to the role at East Thibodeau Middle School of Assistant Principal, Ms. Jody Bro. So welcome to
write notes, sorry. So I'd like to thank you, Superintendent Martin, the school board, Mr. Delcom, Ms. DeVille, Mr. Lee, and especially Ms. McPherson, for this opportunity to serve our community in the capacity of assistant principal at East Thibodeau Middle School. It is an honor to be a part of the leadership team of Lafourche Parish Schools, and I look forward to working alongside all of you and serving our students. I'd also like to give a special thank you to my family for being here tonight and supporting me in my career in Lafourche Parish. Thank you.
Ms. Brewer, I have to comment. I went to the gym, I guess it was the day before the interviews. And the PE teacher, the male PE teacher is an employee there. And they had a whole collection or a group of people discussing how well of a job you did, and they were talking about you. It was very enlightening to hear. I didn't know you personally at the time, but I feel like I got to know you a little more. So they had a big discussion at the Wellness Center. B, to consider approving the cooperative endeavor agreement with the state of Louisiana for the 2020 fiscal year as required by Act 10 of the 2019 Louisiana Legislature for the collection of royalty fundings for Lafourche. Do I have a motion? Motion by Ms. Marion Petita, second by Ms. Tina Babin. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion passes unanimously. 8, tentative dates for future meetings. A, Policy and Procedure Committee meeting, Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. B, Transportation Committee meeting, Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. C, Land and Facilities Management Committee meeting, Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. D, Insurance Committee meeting, Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. F, Finance Committee meeting, Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. F, Finance Committee meeting, Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. G, Advisory Committee meeting, Monday, March 30th, 2020. And H, Regular School Board meeting, Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Is there any other comments or questions? Mr. Dufresne?
Thank you, Madam President. I can't let this moment go by without welcoming Mr. Harold Adams to our board. This is his first board meeting, and we're very blessed to have him, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray Bernard?
Also, we have to stress to Mr. Adams, it doesn't go this quickly all the time.
We probably did that because of you.
Yes.
First meeting, Ms. Fertitta?
And be sure to go to the committee meeting so you'll know what's going on.
Absolutely, that's where most of our stuff happens. Mr. Archer?
Yes, special thanks to everyone who offered their support and prayers for my wife's surgery. It went very well, and it was very painful for her at first, but now she's doing very well. She's getting around with a walker. The therapy is going well, as well as the first doctor's visit since the surgery as well too. So again, thank you for your support during that time. Second note is that often tease Mr. Adams whenever there's concern or talk about me getting hired in this parish and being here tonight. It's his fault because he's the one that hired me back in '81 of August. So we go way back.
One of my best hires.
I taught 9th grade science for it. But Mr. Adams was principal, Mr. Bernard was assistant, and Ms. Damaraj was the counselor at the time, I think it was. But it was a great team, and again, thank you, Mr. Adams.
So now you see why Al is the way he is.
Blame it on him.
Mr. Archer, we were all happy to hear Ms. Ashley was recovering well, but I think most of us were devastated to hear her dog passed away the day after. Most of us are dog lovers, so our sincere.
I think that was worse than the surgery was. It was tough.
I think all our prayers went out for all of that.
Yes.
Is there any other comments from the board? Welcome aboard, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you for serving. If there's nothing further, we'll adjourn.
Thank you.